3 seconds. That is all it takes to completely change how much force your body produces on your next rep. Not a new program, not a different supplement stack, not another 6 weeks of just trust the process. 3 seconds, one breath, and Stanford just proved exactly why most lifters will never discover this, because what they're doing instead is working directly against their own biology. Stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I am about to break down is the single most overlooked performance variable in fitness, and by the end of this, you will walk away with a 4-step protocol you can test in your very next session. I'm Dr. Silas Kincaid, and today we're exposing exactly why your workouts are failing and how one breath changes everything. Here at MindTake, we live by something. We take the breath so we can grow the life. That is not a tagline. That is a physiological statement of fact. And in the next 20-something minutes, we are going to prove it to you with real data, real biology, and a real blueprint you can use starting today. Before we get into the science, let me tell you exactly what you are walking away with by the end of this video, because I do not believe in making you guess. Number 1. You will understand why the way most lifters breathe before a heavy set is actually reducing their strength, not building it. I mean that physiologically. There is a specific biological mechanism working against you right now every time you step up to the bar. Number 2, you will get the exact Stanford double inhale sequence. 4 steps under 30 seconds, a protocol you can execute before your heaviest sets starting today. Number 3, you will learn how to use this same breath to dramatically accelerate your recovery between sets and after your session, turning every workout into a compounding growth event for the next 24 hours. All 3, this video, let's go. I want to be honest with you for a second before we get into the science. I spent years in the gym doing everything right, on paper. The program was dialed in, nutrition was tracked, I was sleeping 8 hours, and I kept hitting the same wall, the same weights, the same numbers, month after month. And here's the thing nobody tells you about a real plateau. The true cost of it is not just the physical frustration. It is what it does to your belief in yourself. You start to wonder if maybe this is just the ceiling, if you have found the edge of what your body is capable of. I know some of you know exactly what I am talking about. And if that is where you are right now, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not at your ceiling. You are being blocked by a mechanism you did not know existed, and in the next few minutes, that block comes down. Here's the question that changed everything for me when I first encountered this research. If you are breathing heavily before a heavy set, ramping up, getting fired up, filling your lungs, why does blood flow data actually show that your muscle oxygen delivery drops in that exact window? More breathing, less oxygen delivery. How is that possible? The answer lives in a biological mechanism that almost no fitness coach, no personal trainer, no gym influencer is currently talking about. And once you understand it, you will never look at your pre-lift breath the same way again. The CO2 trap and performance plateaus. Here's what's actually happening when you huff and puff before a big lift. When you hyperventilate, even mildly, you're blowing off carbon dioxide from your bloodstream faster than your body can regulate it. And here's the critical piece. CO2 is not just a waste product. Carbon dioxide is actually the trigger that tells your red blood cells to release oxygen to your working muscles. This is called the Bohr effect. When CO2 drops too fast, red blood cells tighten their grip on oxygen. They won't let go. Your blood is carrying oxygen to your muscles, but that oxygen never transfers. It stays locked inside the red blood cell and rides right back to the lungs. You're breathing more and delivering less. The gym advice of breathe big, get fired up, hyperventilate a little to get psyched, it's physiologically backwards. But it gets worse.
That CO2 drop also sends a distress signal to your brain. Your amygdala reads low carbon dioxide as a threat indicator. Cortisol begins to rise. Your body shifts from performance mode, precise, efficient, powerful, into survival mode. And in survival mode, your fine motor recruitment degrades. The precise fast-twitch fiber activation that makes a personal record possible starts to fall apart. You think you're getting stronger in those 10 seconds of heavy breathing before the bar. Your biology says you're getting weaker every single time. The athletes who consistently overperformed, Olympic weightlifters, professional powerlifters, high-level fighters, many of them had stumbled onto breath protocols through coaching tradition that kept their CO2 in balance, kept their nervous system calibrated, and kept their muscle fiber recruitment sharp. Not because they knew the science, but because the results were undeniable. The difference between a personal record and a failed rep was never just about heart, it was about gas exchange. And now, science has given us the exact blueprint for how to get this right every time. In just a moment, I'm going to show you what Stanford researchers found and give you the exact protocol those elite athletes were approximating by instinct. But the precision in the data is something else entirely. Stick with me. The Stanford physiological sigh. So let's talk about what Stanford actually found. You may have come across Dr. Andrew Huberman's work on the physiological sigh, the double inhale through the nose, followed by a long, slow exhale. Most people who know about it file it under stress relief, something you do in the car after a rough day. But the May 2026 data out of Stanford Human Performance Lab was studying something different entirely. They were studying intra-abdominal pressure, the internal force your core generates to stabilize the spine under maximal load. And what they found changes everything about how we should be breathing before a heavy effort. Here's the mechanism. When you take a standard single inhale, even a big one, you fill roughly 70% of your lungs' functional volume. But hundreds of tiny air sacs in your lungs, called alveoli, remain partially collapsed from your previous exhale. The standard Valsalva breath hold that most serious lifters use works with this incomplete inflation. The second, short nasal inhale at the top, that quick sniff after the first full breath, reinflates those remaining alveoli. You reach complete functional lung volume, not just chest volume, total volume. And here's why that matters for every heavy bar you will ever touch. When your lungs reach true full capacity, the dome of your diaphragm descends lower and creates a far wider base of pressure through your entire trunk.
That pressure, held briefly with a controlled glidus, generates what the Stanford team called the biobelt effect, a 360-degree cylinder of intra-abdominal pressure that stabilizes the lumbar spine more effectively than any external weightlifting belt. The study's direct comparison with a standard Valsalva, same lifters, same loads, same exercises, showed significant improvement across 3 markers: spinal stabilization, force transfer to the limbs, and reduction in compensatory muscle strain. In plain language, more weight moved, less energy wasted, lower injury risk. But here's the piece I want you to hold on to most, because it is not just mechanical. When you execute this breath, double inhale, followed by a slow, deliberate exhale before the rep begins, you activate the vagus nerve, the direct line between your breathing pattern and your brain's threat assessment system. That slow exhale sends a signal to your brain: I am in control, I am safe, I am ready to perform. Cortisol drops measurably. Fast-twitch fiber recruitment sharpens. Visual focus narrows. In 4 to 6 seconds, your nervous system shifts from threat state, where survival takes priority, into execution state, where performance is the only directive. That is not metaphor. That is neurochemistry, measurable, repeatable, and available to you every single time. The 4-step Stanford breath sequence for maximal effort. Write this down, screenshot this, because this is what you are taking into the gym this week. Step 1, the clearing breath, 15 to 20 seconds before the bar. Before you approach the bar, before you chalk your hands, before you set your feet, take one full breath in through your nose. Feel completely, then exhale everything, fully, slowly. Push every bit of stale air out until your lungs are empty. This resets your CO2 baseline. It clears out any hyperventilated state from your previous set. This is your reset, your system starting from zero. Step 2, the double inhale, 5 seconds before the lift. Approach the bar, hands on, feet set, position locked and ready. Now inhale through your nose, long and full. Feel your belly expand and your rib cage lift and widen. Fill to about 70 to 75% capacity. And then, without exhaling, take one quick, short nasal inhale at the top, a sharp sniff. You'll feel your chest rise that final inch. That is your alveoli fully reinflating. You are now at complete lung volume. Step 3, the bio-built. Do not exhale. Close your glottis gently. Now brace your entire core outward in every direction simultaneously, front, sides, and back. Not just tightening your abs, a full 360-degree expansion of pressure around your entire trunk. Feel the cylinder form around your midsection. That is your internal build. That is the bio-build. Hold this through the entire lift, through the descent, through the sticking point, through to full lockout. Do not release it mid-rep. Step 4, the controlled release. At lockout, at the safe completion of the rep, exhale through slightly pursed lips, slow and deliberate, not a gasp, not a collapse, a controlled, steady decompression. This controlled release begins the shift back toward your recovery state, setting your body up for the next rep far more efficiently than simply dumping air. That's the sequence, 4 steps, under 30 seconds. The first time I executed this on a maximal deadlift, I felt something I had not felt in over a year on that lift. Complete, like every system in my body was synchronized, not fighting itself, not compensating, just performing. Every ounce of force going exactly where it needed to go. That's what correct breathing under maximal effort actually feels like. Not a theory, a physical reality. And now you know exactly how to get there. Now some of you train for hypertrophy, some for conditioning, some for hybrid goals. The next segment breaks down exactly how to adapt this across every training style, including the 2026 real-world case study that shows what happens when intermediate lifters apply this for 12 weeks. Strategic application across training styles. Here's the question I know some of you are forming right now. Dr. Kincaid, this sounds powerful for a 1-rep max, but I train for hypertrophy. I run conditioning. Does this apply to me? Yes, emphatically yes. The application shifts, but the principle remains absolute. For powerlifting and maximal strength efforts, the full 4-step protocol applies to every top set rep. For sub-maximal warm-up sets, you can use a lighter version, single inhale, partial brace, but on any rep that genuinely challenges you, the complete sequence is your standard. For hypertrophy training, 6 to 15 reps, you cannot hold your breath through a full 15-rep set, nor should you try. Use the full double inhale and bio belt on your hardest reps, particularly the final 2 or 3 where failure is approaching. For earlier reps, breathe in a rhythm. Exhale on the concentric, inhale on the eccentric, but always return to the full sequence when true failure is close. For conditioning and hybrid work, here the protocol becomes a between-bout recovery tool. Between rounds, between intervals, between complexes, the physiological sigh accelerates CO2 re-regulation and brings your nervous system back to baseline faster than passive rest alone. Your next interval starts from a more controlled, more capable state. A 2026 observational study tracked intermediate lifters who made one single change to their training, this breathing protocol. No alterations to their program, their nutrition, or their sleep. 7 months of plateaus, averaged across the group. 3 weeks of breathing correctly, gone. Squat PRs, deadlift PRs, bench press improvements that the lifters themselves credited not to upper body strength gains, but to core stability they had never accessed before. 7 months erased by changing one breath.
But here's the layer that most people miss entirely. And honestly, I think it's the most important one of all, because everything up to this point covers what happens during your session. The next segment is about what happens in the 24 hours after, and why that window determines whether today's work actually becomes tomorrow's strength. Long-term recovery and the 24-hour gain cycle. Here's something that should fundamentally change how you think about training. The strength you build today, in that gym, on that bar, in that set, doesn't actually exist yet. It's a biological promise, and whether your body fulfills that promise in the next 24 hours depends almost entirely on how quickly you exit the state you're just in. Most lifters finish a hard session and stay in that activated state for hours afterward, sympathetic nervous system still running elevated, cortisol still circulating, inflammatory markers still high, and the parasympathetic branch, the rest and repair system that actually builds the muscle, consolidates the motor patterns, and converts training stress into real strength, is slow to activate. You train for 60 minutes. You spend the next 3 hours in a state that fights your own results.
This is where the breath protocol becomes a recovery tool, and arguably where it delivers even more long-term value than its performance application. The post-set reset. Within 15 seconds of finishing your working set, before you pick up your phone, before you look around the gym, 3 to 5 slow physiological sighs. Double inhale through the nose, long exhale through the mouth. Each one a little slower than the last. Your heart rate will drop noticeably faster. The grip tension in your hands releases. The buzzing in the muscles softens. You are not just catching your breath, you are actively flipping the biological switch from output back to repair, right there between sets in real time. The post-workout reset protocol, 5 minutes at session end. Sit down, close your eyes, 10 slow physiological sighs. Double inhale through the nose, long, steady exhale through the mouth. On every exhale, consciously release your jaw, your hands, your shoulders. Recent sports science literature shows this protocol meaningfully reduces the systemic inflammatory markers that spike post-training. Less inflammation means faster recovery. Faster recovery means more frequent quality training. More quality training applied consistently over months and years. That is the compound mechanism behind progress that looks impossible from the outside. And I want you to sit with this for a moment. 6 months of training with this protocol integrated, before every heavy set, between every set, and 5 minutes at the end of each session. You do not just get stronger, you become a different kind of athlete. The lifter who walks into the gym and feels ready, not just present. The person who trains hard and recovers fast. Who makes progress not in bursts followed by months of stagnation, but in a steady, reliable, compounding upward line. The person who looks back after 6 months and barely recognizes where their strength was before. That is not a fantasy version of you. That is what this breath, applied with consistency, produces in the human body. That is the 24-hour gain cycle mastered. And it starts every single time with a single breath. So let me land this. You do not need a new program. You do not need more complicated training split. You do not need another supplement. What you need is to take the most fundamental thing your body does, approximately 20,000 times every single day, and do it with intention. The breath is not a background process. It is a lever. And when you pull it correctly, everything moves. Your strength, your focus, your recovery, your long-term progress. Here's your assignment this week. 1 workout. Apply the 4-step double inhale bio belt sequence to your 3 heaviest sets. Run the post-set recovery breath between every set. At the end of the session, give yourself 5 minutes for the full reset protocol. Then come back here and tell me in the comments what changed. Because here at MindTake, we believe something that's not motivational, it's biological. We take the breath so we can grow the life.
That is not a mantra. That is the mechanism. And now it's your blueprint. If today shifted something in the way you think about your training, hit that subscribe button, because every week we're bringing you the science that the fitness world has not caught up to yet. The real mechanisms behind real performance. No shortcuts, no hype, just the truth, broken down clearly so you can actually use it. And if you want to take this further, there's a video right here that breaks down how controlled breathing interacts with sleep quality to amplify overnight recovery. That's the next logical step and is worth your time. I'm Dr. Silas Kincaid. Take the breath, grow the life. I'll see you in the next one.